Hey guys, it's Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. We got to take a look at this breaking story. According to news that is being reported by Reuters, AP, NPR, Trump has apparently gone behind Ukraine's back to basically collaborate with Russia to enact some kind of truce deal that would lock in Putin's gains in Ukraine. Now, the Ukrainians, for their part, aren't even able to sign this kind of deal. But Trump says he hasn't even met with Putin, but has been having routine phone calls with him. But it's very strange, given that, again, Trump has basically gone and negotiated away Ukraine's territories. And it's not clear what this will mean. He says, oh, we're going to give some territories to Ukraine and some will be held by Russia. But this is a problem for a bunch of reasons, not the least of which is that Ukraine is fighting for its sovereignty, and NATO and the US has said we're defending Ukrainian sovereignty. Well, if another country is able to carve up your territories and give them away, well, then you're not a sovereign country, are you? In fact, this is in some ways playing into Putin's hands because his entire narrative throughout all of this war is that Ukraine is a NATO puppet, is a NATO puppet state. And the rest of the world, essentially, including most European countries that want to join NATO, understand that that's Putinist bullshit. So if Trump does this, and to be clear, he literally cannot, and I don't mean this, and he can't do that. I mean it literally, because the Ukrainian constitution doesn't allow the Ukrainian government to give away their territories, let alone a foreign government, right? It also would be the U.S. violating the Budapest Memorandum, which we signed. And we said we guarantee Ukrainian sovereignty in all of its territories in exchange for giving up your nuclear weapons. And the U.S. has not reneged on that agreement, right? And what that would do then is mean that every other U.S. agreement that we've ever signed with our security partners, including, say, the NATO treaty, our treaties with Taiwan, with Japan, all of those are scrap paper. You should put them in your bathroom because they're toilet paper. That is a fundamentally flawed understanding of how the international order works. Now, again, am I saying that I think that, the U.S. has an obligation to fight with Ukraine until they take back all of their territory? No. But the people that have to decide when the war between Ukraine and Russia ends, shocker, is Ukraine and Russia. And so this whole thing is just absolutely a farce, because here's the Putinist game. The Putinist game is simply to say, okay, we're going to trade territories in exchange for what is reported to be a truce. Now, a truce is not the same thing as an end to the war, right? And this is pretty important, because a truce just means a temporary halt to the war. And as we've seen with Vladimir Putin, one of his MOs is simply to wait and then resume the war, right? Vladimir Putin thinks in decades. So remember, this war started in 2014, and there were 3 different accords that Vladimir Putin signed, swore by, and then simply threw into the trash and resumed hostilities when it suited him. And so this is just so clearly, and we know where this is coming from. This is coming from Steve Witkoff, somebody who has absolutely, completely shown himself to be a complete buffoon, and someone history will probably consider maybe not on par with Neville Chamberlain, but as one of the worst international diplomats to ever live. And I'm not saying that lightly. I'm saying that because you might recall that he claimed responsibility. He put his seal on the Hamas-Gaza ceasefire that lasted for a few days. And then immediately, as soon as the ceasefire ended and collapsed, Israel began their policy of starvation in the Gaza Strip, eliminating the provision of all aid into Gaza. So literally his comical ineptness led directly to what a lot of people call the G word that YouTube will definitely demonetize me if I talk about. Not only that, but we saw when he met with Putin the first time, he came back from that meeting, which he reportedly didn't take any State Department officials, didn't take a State Department translator, just trusted former KGB agent Vladimir Putin to provide a legit translator. There's no way that could have gone sideways. But he came back, he went on Tucker Carlson's podcast, and then proceeded to repeat insane Russian talking points, claiming that Russia's sham referendums in the occupied regions, referendums done literally at gunpoint, were valid declarations, were valid like referenda about the real will of the population there. You also had him being unable to name the actual regions being fought over, which again is pretty important for someone who's going to be apparently thinks he can sign away those regions. So this is just sort of preposterous, right? And of course, in Kiev and Europe have said, listen, this is just another stalling tactic to get Trump to stop what he's doing. Again, this absolute preposterousness of it's just delusional, right? Now it's possible that Ukraine will feel they have no choice, but it's just what's absurd is that nobody knows what the president wants. That's what's so bothersome about this, is that neither you nor I can believe. Remember, literally 10 to 15 days ago, Trump's stance was that there was no negotiation be done with Vladimir Putin, that it was time to enact real consequences. He literally said Vladimir Putin just talks nice and then engages in these bombing campaigns. He is manipulative and not interested in peace. And then Trump turns around and goes back to talking with him. It doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense if you believe that this is a performance. This is a distraction. This is, and that the only person who is winning, who's benefiting from all this is Vladimir Putin, who, again, to this day has faced zero additional consequences, has only had his relative position improve because of the president's actions. The president has never once actually punished Vladimir Putin in any way. The closest he's come is a tweet in which he begged the Russian president to stop, which of course, as a leader of the free world, that's really confidence inspiring. So again, I'm going to keep you guys posted as more develops. There's obviously going to be other videos that we talked about this morning, but this is just too insane not to cover. So hit the subscribe button. Thanks as always, guys. Check out the link in the description and become a member of Combat Vet News. Support the channel and enjoy. Cheers.